Hey dolls, welcome back to my channel and welcome to our first episode of Freaky Friday. Now if you missed my last video, I wanted to do a new segment on my channel that was called Freaky Friday, and what that means is we're basically going to be sharing our own personal ghost stories with each other while I do a get ready with me for you guys. I had asked you all to submit your paranormal stories to me and I got so many great stories. Now if you're like me, you love paranormal stuff, haunted houses, and anything spooky and creepy like that. I love that. I pretty much based my house off of it. I have a lot of Victorian goth decor. A lot of things are black. And that's just because I really love it. I'm so intrigued with it. Just things that you cannot explain. And because I've experienced paranormal sightings in a previous house I lived in, I really just wanted us all to get together. When I was younger, my grandpa would watch this radio show called La Mano Peluda. And basically it was a show where people called in and gave their stories, which is basically what I'm basing this segment off of. So instead of you guys calling in, sharing your stories, actually, you know what? That's a good idea. But basically people would call in, share their ghost stories, and this was usually on about 7 o'clock at night. And while I was with my grandpa waiting for my cousin to get out of work, we would listen to those ghost stories and scary stories, and I just loved it. And when we would get together as a family, we would always share, well, my grandparents would always share their ghost stories from like Mexico and sightings that they would see. So I've always been intrigued by that stuff, which is really why I wanted to do this, because I thought it'd be something exciting. I felt like it'd be more personal if I posted it on a Friday at night while you guys are getting comfy in bed and just spook you out a little bit before you go to bed. Now when I posted about doing this whole segment, my amazing, incredible followers informed me of Bailey, but she is doing a segment similar to this, but she is focusing on murders. So definitely go check her out. I'm obsessed with murders too. I watch My Favorite Murder and a whole bunch of different murder podcasts, and I also like the Box of Oddities, lore, and everything like that. So if you're into murder and serial killers and learning about their stories, definitely go check hers out. Her makeup is like 1,000 times better than mine. Mine is just like super basic, but she is an actual true artist. So definitely go check her out. I will post her YouTube channel down below. And I actually follow her on Instagram, but the Instagram algorithm, you know how it sucks. I hadn't seen her Instagram pop up on my feed forever, but I am so excited for this to start. I also do want to say, I forgot to include my last video, but even extraterrestrial ET stories. I want to know about aliens. I do believe aliens exist. I really do hope you guys truly enjoy it. I know I have a lot of spooky followers here, so I really do hope you guys enjoy it. But I'm just going to get into some of these stories, and since this is very new, I really don't know how smooth it's going to be, so please forgive me. And I have my shirt ready. This is Brujeria and Chill. And also, before I forget, if you are not subscribed, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell notification to be notified when I upload videos. Okay, let's get into this get ready with me. So first I am going to start with my Marc Jacobs primer, which is this one right here, the same one I always use. I'm almost done with that one. So for concealer, I'm taking my Kat Von D Lock-It Concealer, and this is in the shade L13 Cool. So I'm going to be getting into the story right now. I'm going to like do some makeup and then I'll share a story. I think I'll share maybe about 3 or 4 depending on how long it's going to take me. Just getting rid of some of this redness and then some of this darkness right here. So the first story that we have is by Heather Rose. Hello Heather, thank you for sharing. So hello doll, first of all, I'm a big fan and enjoy all your videos. I'm a new subscriber. Oh, thank you so much, yay, a new one. I unwind at the end of the busy day and watch videos from your channel. Thank you so much, I appreciate that. Here's my story and I'm sticking to it, wink. 6 years ago, I used to work as a surveillance officer at a casino in New Mexico. My job, of course, was to look out for cheaters at the card tables, patrons stealing other patrons' winnings. I'm curious to know what crazy stuff you've seen while doing that, because that definitely sounds more exciting than what I do. I worked graveyard shift. Oh, that's perfect. We closed at 2 a.m. The only people on the floor were 2 security guards, 6 count team members, and 2 cashiers in the cage. I was watching as the count team prepared to empty the money out of the machines. Ooh, that sounds fun, seeing all that money. Next, I am taking my Fenty Beauty and my CoverGirl Full Spectrum Matte Foundation. Everyone was doing their routine, nothing out of the ordinary, until one of the monitors I was looking at, I saw a chair lift in the air and thrown about 6 feet. See, and that's the crazy thing, is that when you catch it on film, even though you have that evidence there, people always try to rationalize what that was, because when I experienced stuff, that's totally what I did. Getting back to the story, everyone on the floor stopped what they were doing, looked around and saw the chair on the floor on its side. They all ran to the nearest phone and called me and asked what the hell was that. I told them I'd review a recording and let them know. I reviewed and saw the chair lift and thrown. No one else was near the chair. The casino was near a highway where there has been fatalities. Maybe a spirit of the person that died decided to scare us that night. I don't know. There has been other things I've seen when I worked there. There is a camera on the door outside the surveillance room, so we can see if another surveillance officer needs to enter, and we buzz them in. No one is allowed inside this room. Well, the other officer was outside downstairs taking a smoke break. I was scanning the monitors and looked at the one outside our door and saw a mist leaving that very room I was in. Whatever haunted the casino never scared me. It was a trip to see that such activity could be caught on film. Well, there you have it, my ghostly encounters. I look forward to your Freaky Friday series and hope you tell my story. Thank you so much for your story, Heather. The whole thing about the mist is crazy because I believe I shared it in one of my paranormal stories, I think a couple years ago. I actually experienced something like that when I was little. Same house that I had been experiencing all the other activity. We used to have like this jungle gym thing in the backyard, and I was on it swinging, and all of a sudden this mist, the night is clear, and this mist appeared out of nowhere and it stopped right in front of me. I just jumped off of the bars and I ran inside, freaked out to my grandmother. She was cooking and she went in the back to go see, and there was nothing there. But Heather, I do want to know, was anybody else able to see that footage? Because I am so curious to know what they said or what they thought or what they were thinking. So thank you, Heather Rose, for our first spooky, scary story. Moving on to setting powder, I am taking my Laura Mercier translucent powder. Now moving on to eyebrows, I'm taking my 3D brow tones, and this is just going to darken my eyebrows. And then I'm just going to start taking my browsings. I've shown how to do it in other videos. So I'm going to start with the gel portion. Okay, so this next story is from Barbara, and let's start off. So this happened to my younger brother. He was around 4 or 5 around that time. My family and I were asleep, and I woke up to get a drink of water. Normally I leave my door closed, but this time I left it open because something in my head told me to. As I was about to drift off, I had another feeling to open my eyes. That's the worst, is when you feel like either someone's watching you or something's going to happen. It's just like that gut feeling that your body naturally gets. When I did, I saw a black mass go through my walls towards my little brother's room. I shook it off as my eyes playing tricks on me. That is exactly, I'll get into it later, but I used to see a black figure all the time, and I would do the same thing. Like I mentioned before, we always try to rationalize or explain what we're seeing, and we often just try to tell ourselves that, oh, we imagined it, or we're being a little silly, or our mind's playing tricks on us. That is the #1 thing we always go to. Suddenly my brother begins to scream bloody murder. After my stepmother rushed to his aid, she took him outside to get fresh air. I was in the kitchen with my father, really freaked out. My father asked if I heard any music playing before my brother screamed. I said no. I did tell him what I saw. Then my stepmother said she saw something standing over her side of the bed about an hour before my brother started screaming. Later that day, my parents went out and asked me to watch my brother. We were playing Angry Birds on our Roku when I just randomly asked him what he saw. To this day, it still freaks me out. He said, "I saw red eyes, Barbara, red eyes." Ooh, that's creepy. I went into my brother's bedroom and told whatever was in there to leave them alone and stupidly told it to torture me. Well, it did. I woke up with bruises on my legs every morning. I suffered from insomnia and had a lot of bad luck throughout my life. I also developed sleep paralysis due to feeling of it watching me at night. It doesn't do much now, but I know it's around. P.S. I love your videos, Barbara. First of all, Barbara, I'm so sorry that you had to suffer through waking up with bruises, sleep paralysis, I know, and insomnia. That's awful. That's horrible. Girl, you are brave, because telling that thing to torture you instead of your brother, it just shows how much love you have for your brother. So that's amazing. So thank you, Barbara, for your spooky demon story. I really hope you somehow get rid of that thing. And now I'm going to take the powder portion and just set that powder. Alright, getting into the next one. This is from Deborah. Hi, sweetie. Hi, love. First off, I adore you, Jay, and your channel. Thank you so much. We adore you too. You both are just the most beautiful couple, and I'm a Scorpio. Yes! Sister shout out. So anyway, let me get right into this. My brother and I used to do a lot of independent film crew work. That's awesome. Commercials, industrial films, etc. He was a grapher with a grip truck, and I was a makeup artist for film. Gosh, that is so exciting! We were on a month-long shoot for an independent horror slasher film. Oh my gosh, so jealous already. The location for the day was an abandoned mental hospital. The entire complex had been shut down for years. The only building still getting electricity was the caretaker of the property, who was there only to report possible vandals. That building was separate and located quite a distance from the main complex. And that already seems like the perfect setup for a spooky story. Getting into makeup, Soft Glam Anastasia palette. I'm going in with Tempera, which is this light one right here, and that's going to be used as my brow bone highlight. And then I'm going to go in with Orange Soda as my transition shade. What an incredible job to have. I would love to do something that has to do with, I always told Jay that one of my goals is to be an extra in a horror film, and I'm not going to say an actress in a horror film because I don't know how to act at all, and I don't think I have the energy to try to act for it. I will happily be an extra in a horror film. I don't care if I'm like the dumb person walking into the woods and actually being the person murdered. I just want to be in a horror film. And now I'm going in with Orange Soda. Moving on to the next paragraph. The entire film crew, consisting of about 20 of us, arrived at the dilapidated, overgrown mental hospital at about 10 a.m. and loaded in our gear. We had 4 shots to get and several lines of dialogue, so we were in for a long day. During a break in shooting, a couple of the crew members were talking about looking around the building before we wrapped the set. Now keep in mind, there was no power in this building. The production crew had a generator on site for lighting the scenes. The complex was very large with several stories. It wasn't too bad on the main level. There was a lot of windows and it was a semi-sunny day. But the lower levels had no windows, so it was dark as pitch down there. There was talk about the morgue in the basement and how cool it would be to explore it later. So moving on, I'm going in with Burnt Orange, and then I'm gonna deepen that with Sienna. I mean, if you're filming a horror movie in the perfect location, you have to go explore. That's definitely something I would be doing or interested in doing. Now I'm actually going to go in with the shade Rustic and deepen that. So here I'm actually going to stop and explain a little bit. So this is sort of where we're going to start creating the cut crease for our look. But I'm just using basically like a smudge type of brush. And this is going to be a little bit messy, which is fine because we're going to clean it up later. But I'm starting to outline the cut crease. And then I'm going to blend that out a little bit. Now, I have always had this thing about spaces. It's an intuitive thing. I can just feel when bad things have happened in a room or structure. As the day began to progress, my senses started to become more aware. I started to feel uncomfortable and stifled. I started seeing movement in my peripheral vision. In between shots, I would go out to my brother's truck just to get out of there for a bit. I would look up at the black, empty windows of the second floor, almost expecting to see something looking back at me. I was becoming more and more unsettled. Those are the bad ones when they're sucking the energy out of you. So now I'm going to go in with Cypress Umber. This is a darker brown, and I'm going to be aligning that with a thin brush. So I'm slightly drawing above my eyelid because my eyelids are so small. I need to have a larger lid, so I'm gonna fake it. Okay, so that looks good. Now I'm taking this smudge brush and I'm going to blend that shade as much as I can. Ooh, I hear my Amazon package. By the time we stopped for dinner, the sun had gone down and the stars were barely peeking through a cloudy and darkening sky. After the meal was over, the curious crew members managed to recruit some additional volunteers to head to the basement to check out the morgue. Armed with flashlights, they headed off down one of the corridors and disappeared into the darkness. I was more worried about peeing. That would be me. I had been putting it off for the entire day, but after multiple cups of coffee and a few bottles of water, I was bursting. I asked the production assistant where the only working restroom was. She pointed towards another dark corridor and said that she had put signs up when it was still light. Great, I'm thinking. I don't get paid enough for this. Girl, same. My bladder was definitely calling the shots, so I grabbed a flashlight and started down the hall. I passed door after door on either side. Rusty and broken room numbers were the only indications of what once was. I suddenly felt very vulnerable. I started walking faster. That feeling of dread was getting stronger. I tried to push it away, but it only got stronger until I was on the verge of panic. I was running now. My footsteps sounded like drums echoing in the hollow corridor. Suddenly, I stopped. I don't know why. My heart was pounding. My senses were on fire. Something was here. I could feel it. It was so very cold. Slowly, I shined the flashlight on the door to my right. A corridor sign was hung above the small rectangle window. On the door, it said operating room. Oh, hell no. I don't know what horrors went on behind that door, but I know for certain it wasn't good. I broke into a sprint and practically ran into the makeshift sign that indicated restrooms were to my left and down another hall. Girl, you have a strong bladder because I would have just pissed myself right then and there. I finally found the restroom, did my business, and ran all the way back to the main area without so much as a glance left or right. Now I'm taking Noir in the same palette, and I'm going to make a real... Before I give my commentary, we are then going to create the cut crease. This is the Carity Shadow Primer, and then I'm going to use a thin concealer brush and just start making that cut crease. Okay, see, this is why I say I'm not a makeup artist. I totally flipped the steps. I was actually supposed to go in with the black one and deepen that cut crease and then use the primer. And then I'm just going to slightly blend it out. Now I'm going to cut the dang crease again. No one even noticed me returning from the restrooms. The crew members that had ventured to the basement morgue were sitting in the middle of the room sharing what had happened. And by the looks of their faces, I could tell it was a lot worse than what I had just gone through. Apparently, they had found several rooms with shackles and restraints, a few operating rooms, and eventually the morgue. One of them decided it would be fun to look inside the body cabinets. Not only was there a horrendous odor, but inside the narrow cavity where the deceased were stored, there were scrapings on either side. Scrapings from human hands. Oh, that's so sad. The crew wrapped the set quickly, much more quickly than usual. None of us wanted to be there any longer. It had started to rain. Of course it started to rain. The loadout was wet and miserable. Most of the crew had gone. My brother, myself, and 2 grips were the only crew left. My brother started up the truck and flipped on the headlights. Nothing. The headlights would not come on. It was 1 a.m. There was no way we could drive the 60 miles home without headlights. My brother is an electrician. To this day, he cannot explain why the headlights wouldn't work. He checked all the connections and started the truck again. They came on. The trailer lights still would not work. He headed off anyway. I glanced back into the darkness where the horrible building was. As I did, a light flickered in one of the upper windows. I never looked back. We made it home, and the next morning, the truck and trailer lights worked perfectly. My brother spoke with the caretaker a few days later in order to retrieve some equipment that was left behind. Yeah, of course, because you guys wanted to get the hell out of there. My brother asked him if he ever saw anything weird or unusual. The caretaker answered immediately. Oh yeah, all the time. Weird lights come on, strange noises, objects moving around, creepy stuff. The complex has since been bulldozed over and replaced with a golf course and housing. But it is one experience that is burned into my memory. True story. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you, sweetie. Bless you both. No, baby. Thank you. That story was perfect setting, and just the way you had everything written out. Loved it. Okay, the colors that I'm using, this is the Marc Jacobs palette, and I am using these 2 shades right here. This one is Say It, and this one is With Style. So thank you, Deborah, so much for that incredible story. I loved it. After we've done the lids, I'm going to go in with some inner corner highlight, and this is the Lorella highlight. This is the shade Jewels. This one is so perfect. I absolutely love it. I am going to take my NYX Cosmetics matte liquid liner, and we're going to line our eyes. The glitter will be done last. This story is from Yesenia Garcia, titled Ouija Story at Los Amigos High School. When I do the eyeliner, I want it to meet up with this end part right here so that it has that triangular look. You might have heard this story since we went to school together. I didn't go to Los Amigos, love. Maybe someone who looks like me. I want to send out of high school. A story I remember very vaguely because it was told to me since I had no idea what was going on. It all started when a group of my friends and I from Los Amigos High decided to ditch school for the day. We played the Ouija at a park. I guess I had started hyperventilating and another person's spirit came over me. They told me that I was saying nonsense words they couldn't understand. I started crying but still not being myself. The girls were freaking out and crying while they tried to get me to come back from what was possessing me. I had fainted and it took them a while to get me to come back. I honestly don't remember how or when I came back to myself. When I did, all I can remember is that I was soaked in sweat. Now I'm going to go onto the lower lash line, and I'm using this Marc Jacobs liner pencil. This is going to be for my waterline, and this is in the shade Pink of Me. So for the lower portion, I'm just going to take a black eyeshadow, same one in this palette, and I'm going to line that outer portion of the eyeliner, the wing that I have. This is just going to give that appearance of larger eyes. Okay, now after we've completed that, we are actually going to go in with the glitter. The Urban Decay Heavy Metal Gel Glitter. This one is in the shade Saturday Stardust, which is a pink glitter. So all I'm doing is taking a lip brush and getting about this amount. This may even be a little too much, but this small amount right here. And I'm going to apply that on this whole portion right here, where I have the eyeshadow. You can see that it's already pretty much filled up the whole entire lid space. And I'm just going to apply some mascara. So regarding that possession that you had, Yesenia, if you are watching this video, let me know if ever since you've had that possession have weird things started to occur. I hope you haven't, but I'm very curious to know if anything else does go on. I'm pretty sure you're not playing the Ouija board anymore. Good, stay away from it. But once again, thank you so much for sharing your story. So when I do these cut crease looks, I really like to use my Miss Lashes 102B lashes. I don't know how choppy everything's going to be or if it flows, so I apologize. This is just the first episode of Freaky Fridays. I've been thinking that maybe I'll have Jay pre-record and read out the stories while I'm getting ready. Perfect, so now the eyes are done. We are sparkly, glittery, looking fabulous. This next one is from Hannah Mulderig. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And it is titled My Bedroom Haunting. Hey beautiful, hi my love. I absolutely love this idea and have a creepy story of when my bedroom was haunted. So before I get into it, I'm going to put on some bronzer. This is the Wet n Wild Color Icon bronzer. It does not have, oh, it's Queensland, sorry, it does have a shade number. I was 16 years old and we had just moved into a new house. I finally had my own bedroom and I was lucky enough to have my own personal bathroom inside. Oh, isn't that amazing? I didn't notice anything weird or unusual at first until a few weeks went by. My room could get really cold in certain areas, like my sitting area and my bed. Anytime I sat on my couch, I would suddenly get cold and feel like something was next to me. That is the worst. My dog would stand at my doorway and refuse to go in and even bark sometimes and then run away. Isn't it insane how animals just have this sixth sense? Things in my room would be misplaced, big sign, and I would yell at my brother for messing with me, but he swore he didn't even go into my room. I told my parents what was going on and my dad didn't believe me and told me to stop talking about it. He was religious and believes talking about ghosts or demons makes them stronger. So moving on to blush, I am using this Tarte blush and I am taking my Wet n Wild blush brush. One day my mom and I were in my little bathroom doing our makeup and my mirror had a long cabinet right under it. I was leaning in to do my eyeliner and was also sucking on a lollipop. All of a sudden I felt a very strong tug on my lollipop and it was ripped out of my mouth and was balancing on the cabinet when it should have fallen. My mom and I screamed and it dropped to the floor. We went and told my dad and he told us once again to stop talking about it and to pray. I was terrified and didn't want to sleep in my room anymore, so I started sleeping in the living room. Well, I've done that, which was right in front of my bedroom. A few nights later, I was sleeping on the couch in the living room and I had a nightmare that someone was holding me down and biting me. The next morning, my mom woke me up, and when I took off my blanket, I had bite marks and really bad bruising on my inner thigh. Oh my god, of all places, the inner thigh, really? Now I'm going back with my Lorella Cosmetics highlight, and you guys are going to see how amazing this highlight is. I'm going to highlight my cheekbones. Look how beautiful. Oh, I love it. It's like silk going on your skin. So continuing the story, we were terrified, and my dad finally believed us, so we called our pastor, and he came and blessed the house and my room. I was so scared to go back into my room for the longest time, but when I did, everything seemed to be okay again. A few months later, we ended up moving out, and a year later, the house was torn down. I hope you enjoyed my story of when I was haunted. Just wanted to also say you're beautiful inside and out, and I love your style and videos so much. They make my day. So excited for the new Freaky Friday series. Love, Hannah. Thank you so much, Hannah. I love you so much. Thank you for being a part of our Freaky Fridays, our first Freaky Friday. Yay! I loved your story, enjoyed it, and I wonder if that house was torn down because people were experiencing what you and your family had experienced, because if that were the case, I totally would have torn it down as well. Hopefully that wasn't the case, and it was maybe just an investor who wanted to revamp the property. I am so excited about all these stories that are coming in. Before I move on to another one, I'm so glad we're able to fit in multiple stories. What I'm going to do now are my lips, and I'm taking the Kat Von D Everlasting Lip Liner. This is in the shade Hawkwind. Now I am taking the shade Lolita 2. So this is the look, the glitter that you guys were requesting. These are the lips. These are by far my favorite lips that I've done. Okay, dolls, so for hair, it's actually going to be pretty simple. I blow dried it with the round brush, so if you're gonna blow dry it, make sure to blow dry it with the brown brush so you kind of already have that curling at the end. Then I'm also going to take this 1-inch curling iron that I have here, and I'm not gonna separate or part my hair. I'm just gonna make it really easy on myself and just start curling like this, just so it kind of flips out. This one is from Tiffany Kapahua. I don't know, sorry, I don't know. It sounds Hawaiian. And it starts, hey girl, hey, my name's Tiffany. I love your channel. Thank you, my love. You are literally goals AF. LOL. Anyways, I have so many creepy stories, but I'm just gonna tell you the one that straight up had me shook for years. Ooh, I'm so excited. So let me just start curling. Okay, for starters, I've always been hypersensitive to energy. Exactly, it's always about energy. Especially during my teen years, growing up in Hawaii. Oh, I was right. I was like, it sounds Hawaiian. Growing up in Hawaii, first, I'm so jealous. I swear I could even sense the gender of the spirits, and I felt like I could feel their intention so strongly. So anyway, around the time I was 16, I used to always feel a heavy energy in the apartment I lived in, just passing through constantly. I'd feel like two people would stare at me at night, and I'd feel cold ass hands touching my back and neck almost every night. Mind you, like I said, I grew up in Hawaii. It is always hot as hell, and for some reason, I'd always leave my windows closed and there is no AC. I'd always try to brush it off though and rationalize it. Exactly, like I said, that's what we try to do. And sum it up to, oh, it's just my anxiety or whatever. But there was one night that I could not deny what I felt, saw, and heard. It's always that one night, I swear. That's what happened with me. I remember waking up and it looked like it was early in the morning but still dark, and I feel like I'm being held down, so I shut my eyes tight. A few seconds go by and I hear a woman's voice. I can still hear it to this day. It sounded otherworldly, so demonic and scary. That would scare the crap out of me. It sounded like it was chanting and coming closer and closer to my face, which was facing the side of the bed. I was terrified and looked up, and I cannot make this shit up. I see my blanket above my head like someone was gripping it, like they scratched it and just held it there. Next thing I know, it was all over and I'm terrified. I just stayed up and watched TV in the living room, and as usual, until I fell asleep. At that point in time, I was used to having sleep paralysis, but that by far traumatized me. This is where it gets creepier though. So later that evening, me and my mom are coming back from a pizza date, and she begins to tell me that my older sister called her up crying this morning. She said that she woke up during the night. So before I continue to the good stuff, what I'm going to do is part my hair midway. Not all the way down like I normally do below this. I'm gonna start about right here, and this is where we're gonna start the teasing, because we don't need to start the teasing all the way down at the bottom. Go all around and tease this top section, and tease as much as you want. If you want really big like helmet head hair, definitely do that. If you want to spray some hairspray to help you tease, do that as well. I'm not going to do that because my hair is freshly washed, and when it's freshly washed, I really don't like putting any product like that in it. So I'm just going to do that all the way to the top, and you guys will see. So I'm gonna move on to the story. So later that evening, me and my mom are coming back from a pizza date, and she begins to tell me that my older sister called her up crying this morning. She said that she woke up during the night because something was holding her down and attacking her. She told my mom that she started praying along with my brother, who got woken up from her panicking. After a moment or so, they saw a huge black shadow leave through the window, and she just stayed up frantic. When my mom told me this, I went so pale. We were both visited by something that same night. I then told my mom what happened, and she said we just really need to pray and cleanse. She got her friend to do a cleansing of my room with tea leaves. They ward off evil, and my friend at the time tried to feng shui my room at the time. But honestly, nothing worked. My mom prayed for me, and almost every night I could hear her from her room. My parents were both worried, and I pretty much felt hopeless living there because nothing made it better. I moved out of there a year or so later, and the thing chilled out, thank goodness. I still had some occurrences, but nothing as bad. Over the years, I've really grown into my spirituality a lot, and I can deal with things like this way better than I used to. The thing I'd have to say to anyone dealing with entities is do not let anything suck the life out of you. You have the power, and giving it energy just feeds it. Exactly. I've always been a huge believer in that. Don't be afraid and ignore. Keep your vibration high. They can't coexist with light and love, baby. I wish I could tell my younger self that. Oh my gosh, I love you. I love your attitude. I love the way you see all of this. Sorry this is so long, girl. Oh, it's not. Trust me, it's not long. I love it. I hope you enjoyed my story at least, and I got more that I'll probably send in. LOL. Even one that's kind of funny and a bit R-rated, shaking my head. Girl, send it over. I've been going through so many stories in just one video, so if you guys have something, please do not hesitate. If you have more than one story, I don't care if you have 10 stories, please send them over. I know all of us would love to hear them. I absolutely would love to hear them. So thank you so much, Tiffany. You're a babe, and I love you. Okay, so I'm going to take this teasing all the way to about this point right here, and then we're going to start with the fixing and combing of it. So just try to get it as poofy or teased as you like. Now this front portion here, I'm going to part on the side, I think maybe about right there. And I'm just going to sleek it behind my ears. And then this one, push down and behind my ears as well. So that's just going to give you that sort of 60s, 70s vibe. And boom, nice fluffy hair. Oh my gosh, I love this hair. This is like my new favorite hairstyle. So now let's get into this outfit. We are pretty much done for the video. So that is it for today's video, dolls. I really hope you enjoyed those stories. Thank you to my wonderful, incredible subscribers who submitted their stories and allowed me to share them today. If I did not share your story, I will. I'm just going in order as the emails were received. But I truly enjoyed every single one of them. Thank you so much. If any, like I said, if any of you have your scary stories, please submit them. Let me know what ghost story or creepy story was your favorite. I really hope you dolls enjoyed this. I will be tweaking it. Like I said, it was my first episode, so it probably wasn't perfect, but if you have any suggestions, things I could change, please let me know, because that's really going to help me, and I just want to improve this segment. But I'm so excited. Thank you, dolls. I love you. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon. Bye, loves.